You know that feeling when your chest tightens and your breath shortens, and suddenly you are not in control anymore. The words leave your mouth before you can stop them. Sharp, cutting, the kind of words that damage things. And even as you are saying them, some part of you is watching from a distance, horrified, whispering, "No, not again. Please, not again." But the wave has already crashed, the anger has already taken over, and you are left standing in the wreckage of a conversation you never meant to ruin, with someone you never meant to hurt. Or maybe it is not anger. Maybe it is the anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m, flooding your body with adrenaline over something that has not even happened yet, something that might never happen. But your heart does not know the difference between real danger and imagined threat. It pounds the same way. Your thoughts spiral the same way. And you lie there, staring at the ceiling, hostage to your own nervous system, wondering why you cannot just calm down, why you cannot just think your way out of this, why you cannot be normal. Or perhaps it is the sadness that comes from nowhere. You are going about your day, functioning, managing, and then something small happens, a song, a memory, a passing thought, and suddenly you are drowning. The tears come, and you do not even know why. You feel foolish, weak, too much. You tell yourself to snap out of it, to pull it together, to stop being so sensitive. But the feeling does not listen. It never listens. This is the war you fight alone, the one no one sees, the battle between who you want to be and what you actually feel, between the calm, composed version of yourself you present to the world and the chaos that churns beneath the surface. You have learned to hide it well, to smile when you are breaking, to say you are fine when you are anything but, to keep it together in public and fall apart in private. But hiding is exhausting, and pretending takes so much energy that there is nothing left for the life you actually want to live. You have tried to fix this. You have read the articles, watched the videos, told yourself to think positive, to let it go, to not take things so personally. You have promised yourself you will do better next time. Stay calm, not react. Keep your emotions in check. But when the moment comes, when the trigger hits, all those promises evaporate. The emotion rises, and you are swept away by it. Again, and the shame that follows is almost worse than the reaction itself, because now you are not just dealing with the original feeling, you are dealing with the guilt of losing control, the embarrassment of being seen, the fear that this is just who you are, and you will never change. Let me tell you something right now. This is not weakness. This is not a character flaw. This is not evidence that something is fundamentally wrong with you. This is what it looks like to be human without the right tools, to have a sophisticated emotional system but no instruction manual, to be expected to navigate the full spectrum of human feeling with nothing but willpower and hope. You were never taught how to do this. Not in school. Probably not at home. Our culture teaches us math and history and how to write essays, but no one teaches us how to hold anger without exploding, how to sit with anxiety without spiraling, how to process sadness without numbing. We are told what to feel and what not to feel, but never how to actually work with what arises. So we do what we can. We suppress. We avoid. We distract. We explode. We shut down. Whatever gets us through the moment. And we wonder why nothing changes. But here is the truth that changes everything. Your emotions are not the enemy. They are not something to be conquered or controlled or eliminated. They are information. signals from your body and brain telling you something important. Anger tells you a boundary has been crossed. Anxiety tells you to prepare. Sadness tells you something matters. Fear tells you to pay attention. These feelings exist for a reason. They are part of your design, not a defect in it. The problem is not that you feel too much. The problem is that you were never taught how to translate what you feel into something useful, how to read the signal without being consumed by it, how to honor the emotion without letting it hijack your life. And so you have been living at the mercy of your own reactions, carried by currents you do not understand, tossed by waves you cannot predict. That ends now. Not because you are going to become emotionless, not because you are going to numb yourself, or meditate your feelings away, or think yourself into some Zen state of permanent calm, but because you are going to learn a language you should have been taught years ago, the language of your own emotional system. And once you learn it, everything changes. In 30 days, you will know how to recognize an emotion as it rises before it takes over. You will know how to create space between what you feel and how you respond. You will know how to investigate what your emotions are trying to tell you instead of just reacting to them. You will know how to move through intensity without losing yourself in it. You will know how to hold the full range of human feeling without being afraid of what might come up. This is not about control in the way you have been trying to control yourself. It is not about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to behave. It is about fluency, about understanding, about learning to work with your nervous system instead of against it, about building a relationship with your emotions that is based on curiosity instead of fear, on partnership instead of war. You will not suppress. You will not perform. You will not pretend. You will learn to feel everything and still choose how you respond. You will learn to be angry without being destructive, anxious without being paralyzed, sad without being consumed. You will learn to trust yourself in a way you never have before, because you will know deeply and completely that no emotion can break you, that you can handle anything that arises, that you are safe even in the storm. This is emotional mastery, not the absence of feeling, but the ability to navigate it, not the elimination of intensity, but the capacity to hold it, not becoming less human, but becoming more skilled at being human. And it is available to you, right now, starting today. The tools you need are simple. The practice is clear. The science is solid. In 30 days, you will not be the same person you are now. You will be someone who feels deeply but responds wisely. Someone who experiences the full range of emotion but is not ruled by it. Someone who knows that every feeling is temporary. Every storm passes, and you have everything you need to weather whatever comes. You will walk into conflict and stay present. You will face anxiety and remain grounded. You will sit with grief and not fall apart. You will experience anger and not lash out. Not because you have become cold or detached, but because you have become fluent. Because you have learned the language of your own inner world, and you know how to speak it. The person you are trying to be, the one who is calm and centered and in control, that is not someone you have to fake or force. That is who you already are underneath the reactivity, underneath the patterns that were built by years of not knowing better, underneath the habits that formed in the absence of guidance. That version of you is waiting, and all you have to do is clear the path. So this is the promise. This is what the next 30 days will give you, not a life without emotion, but a life where emotion informs instead of controls, where you feel everything and remain yourself, where nothing that arises inside you is too much to handle, where you become the kind of person who can hold space for others because you have learned to hold space for yourself. You are not broken. You do not need fixing. You need training. You need practice. You need the tools that should have been given to you long ago. And now you are going to get them. The journey begins here, with this moment, with the decision to stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself, with the willingness to see your emotions not as problems to solve, but as signals to decode, with the courage to feel what you feel without shame, without judgment, without fear. 30 days from now, you will look back on this moment and barely recognize who you were, not because you will have become someone else, but because you will have become more yourself, more whole, more integrated, more free. Welcome to the beginning of your transformation. Welcome to emotional mastery. Welcome home. The transformation starts with seeing clearly. And to see clearly, you need to understand exactly what you are dealing with. Not in abstract terms, not in theory, but in the lived reality of your daily life. Because emotional reactivity does not announce itself with warning labels, it hides in plain sight. It masquerades as who you are instead of what you learned to do. And until you can see it for what it is, you cannot change it. So let us look at what it actually looks like when your emotions run the show. It looks like the moment your partner asks if you remembered to do something, and suddenly you are furious. Not annoyed. Furious. The kind of anger that feels like fire in your veins. And before you can stop yourself, you are snapping back with an edge in your voice that is sharper than the situation warrants. You see their face change, the hurt flash across their eyes. And some part of you who knows you overreacted, knows this was not really about the question they asked, but the words are already out there. The damage is already done. And now you have to deal with the aftermath of your own reaction while still feeling the anger underneath, which makes everything worse. It looks like lying awake at 2 a.m, replaying a conversation from 3 days ago. Something someone said. Something you said. And your mind will not let it go. It spins and analyzes and catastrophizes. What did they really mean? What did you really mean? Are they upset with you? Did you say the wrong thing? Are you going to lose this relationship, this job, this opportunity? The thoughts spiral faster and faster until your heart is racing and your stomach is tight and you are fully convinced that something terrible is going to happen, even though nothing has actually happened yet. And you know this is irrational. You know you are spiraling, but knowing does not stop it. The anxiety has momentum now, and you are just along for the ride. It looks like sitting at your desk, trying to work and feeling nothing but dread. Heavy, suffocating dread. You have things to do. Deadlines approaching, responsibilities waiting, but you cannot move. The thought of starting makes your chest tighten. The fear of failing paralyzes you. So you sit there, frozen, scrolling through your phone, watching the clock tick forward, hating yourself for not being able to just do the thing, but still unable to make yourself move. And the longer you wait, the worse it gets. The task becomes a monster. The deadline becomes a threat. And you are trapped between the fear of doing it and the fear of not doing it. It looks like crying in your car before you go into work, because you do not know if you can hold it together today. The sadness came out of nowhere, or maybe it has been building for weeks, and you have been pushing it down, and today it finally broke through. Either way, you are drowning in it, and you do not even know why. Nothing terrible happened. Nothing changed. But everything feels heavy and meaningless and too hard, and you are exhausted from pretending you are okay when you are not. Exhausted from keeping it together. Exhausted from being you. This is what emotional reactivity looks like in real life. Not dramatic, not obvious, just you, trying to live your life, constantly ambushed by feelings you did not choose and cannot control. And the cost is everything. It costs you your relationships, because people do not know which version of you they are going to get. The calm one or the explosive one, the warm one or the shut-down one. They start walking on eggshells around you, or they stop trying altogether, or they leave. And you do not blame them, because you are exhausted from dealing with yourself too. You want to be steady. You want to be safe to be around. But you do not trust yourself. So how can you expect anyone else to? It costs you opportunities, because you say no to things that scare you. You avoid situations where you might feel too much. You play small to stay comfortable. You do not apply for the job. You do not have the hard conversation. You do not take the risk. Not because you lack ambition or courage, but because you are already managing so much intensity on the inside that you cannot handle adding more. So you stay in the familiar, the manageable, the small, and you watch other people step into the lives you wish you had. It costs you sleep, because your mind will not turn off. The worries come at night, the regrets, the what-ifs. You replay every awkward interaction, every mistake, every moment you wish you could take back, and your body stays on high alert, waiting for the next threat, unable to relax even when you are lying in bed trying to rest. So you wake up exhausted, and the exhaustion makes everything harder. And the cycle continues. It costs you your sense of self, because you start to believe that this is just who you are. Emotional, sensitive, too much, not enough. You stop seeing yourself as capable or strong or worthy. You see yourself as the problem, the broken one, the one who cannot handle what everyone else seems to handle just fine. And that belief becomes a lens that colors everything. Every setback confirms it. Every struggle proves it. You are stuck in a story about yourself that feels true, but is actually just a pattern you never learned to interrupt. The internal dialogue is relentless. After you snap at someone, the voice comes. What is wrong with you? Why did you do that? They were just asking a simple question. You always do this. You always ruin things. You are never going to change. And the shame sits heavy in your chest. Not just about what you did, but about who you are. Because in that moment, you are not just someone who lost their temper. You are someone who is fundamentally flawed. When the anxiety spikes, the voice shifts. Why are you like this? It is not even a big deal. Other people do not fall apart over this. You are weak. You are dramatic. Get over it. But the anxiety does not respond to criticism. It only gets worse. So now you are anxious about being anxious, afraid of your own fear. And the voice keeps going. You are going to fail. You are going to embarrass yourself. Everyone is going to see that you cannot handle this. And the spiral tightens. When the sadness comes, the voice turns cold. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Other people have it worse. You have no reason to be this sad. Just be grateful. Just think positive. Just get up and do something. But the sadness does not care about gratitude or positivity. It sits there, unmoved, heavy as stone. and you hate yourself for not being able to shake it, for being weak enough to feel it in the first place. This is the war inside your head, the constant judgment, the relentless criticism, the comparison to who you think you should be, and it is exhausting. More exhausting than the emotions themselves, because you are not just dealing with what you feel. You are dealing with how you feel about what you feel. The shame layered on top of the anger, the fear layered on top of the anxiety, the guilt layered on top of the sadness. It is a spiral that feeds itself, and the worst part is the confusion. Because emotions do not follow logic. They do not show up on schedule or make sense in context. You can be happy one moment and devastated the next, and you have no idea why. You can be calm for weeks and then explode over something trivial. You can feel fine, and then suddenly you are not, and you start to feel like you cannot trust yourself, like you are at the mercy of forces you do not understand, like you are living in a body that betrays you and a mind that works against you. This touches everything. Your work suffers because you cannot focus through the noise. Your friendships fade because you cancel plans when you do not feel up to it. Your health declines because stress lives in your body and your body keeps the score. Your dreams shrink because you do not believe you can handle the emotions that come with reaching for them. You are stuck, not because you lack potential, not because you lack desire, but because you lack the skills to navigate the intensity of being alive, and you have tried to fix it. You have tried willpower and discipline and positive thinking. You have told yourself to toughen up, to let it go, to just breathe. You have read the quotes about choosing happiness and not letting things bother you. But none of it works, because those are solutions for a different problem. They are solutions for people who already have emotional regulation and just need a reminder. They are not solutions for someone who never learned the foundation in the first place. You are not broken. Let that sink in. You are not too sensitive or too emotional or too much. You are not weak or flawed or fundamentally different from everyone else. You are simply untrained. You have a sophisticated emotional system that you were never taught how to use. And so you have been doing the best you can with what you have. Suppressing when it gets too loud. Exploding when you cannot hold it anymore. Avoiding what scares you. Numbing what hurts. These are not character flaws. These are survival strategies. And they worked. Until they stopped working. But now you have a choice. You can keep doing what you have been doing and keep getting what you have been getting, or you can learn a different way. Not a way that makes you less human. A way that makes you more skilled at being human. A way that gives you the tools you need to navigate the storms instead of being swept away by them. This is not about becoming perfect. It is not about never feeling anger or anxiety or sadness again. It is about learning what to do when those feelings come, how to hold them without being consumed, how to honor them without being controlled, how to move through them without losing yourself. The struggle you are in right now is real. The cost is real. The pain is real. But it is not permanent. It is not your identity. It is a skill gap. And skill gaps can be closed, starting now. Understanding where you are now requires understanding how you got here. And the truth is, none of this is your fault. The way you react to your emotions, the patterns that feel so automatic and unchangeable, they did not appear out of nowhere. They were built, piece by piece, year by year, by experiences you did not choose and messages you did not question. You were shaped by a world that never taught you what you needed to know. Think back to your childhood, not to analyze or judge, but to see. What happened when you cried, when you got angry, when you were scared or sad or overwhelmed? Were you held and comforted, your feelings validated and accepted? Or were you told to stop crying, to calm down, to go to your room until you could behave? Were your emotions met with curiosity and care, or with frustration and dismissal? For most of us, the answer is complicated. Our parents did their best. They loved us, but they were working with the same lack of training they inherited from their parents. They were trying to raise emotionally healthy children without ever being taught how emotions actually work. So they did what they knew, what they were taught. And often what they were taught was that emotions are problems to be managed, not signals to be understood. Maybe you grew up in a home where anger was dangerous, where raised voices meant someone was about to get hurt. So you learned to make yourself small, to swallow your own anger before it could cause trouble, to freeze at the first sign of conflict. That was not weakness, that was survival. Your nervous system learned that expressing anger was not safe, so it built a response that kept you safe. Shut down. Disappear. Wait for the storm to pass. Or maybe you grew up in a home where sadness was weakness, where crying meant you were too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. So you learned to push it down, to tough it out, to never let anyone see you break. You built walls around your vulnerability, because vulnerability was met with shame. And those walls worked. They protected you. Until they became a prison, you could not escape, even when you wanted to. Or maybe emotions were just invisible in your home. Not dangerous, not shamed, just not acknowledged. Your family functioned on logic and practicality. Feelings were not discussed. Problems were solved, not felt. So you learned that emotions were irrelevant, something to ignore or work around. You learned to live in your head and disconnect from your body. And that worked too, until you found yourself completely cut off from your own inner world, wondering why you feel numb or empty, or like something essential is missing. These patterns were not accidents. They were adaptations. Your young brain looked at the environment you were in and asked a simple question. What do I need to do to be safe, to be loved, to survive? And it built strategies based on the answer. If safety meant suppressing anger, you suppressed. If love meant hiding sadness, you hid. If survival meant disconnecting from feeling altogether, you disconnected. You were brilliant. You did exactly what you needed to do. But here is what no one told you. The strategies that protected you as a child do not serve you as an adult. The patterns that kept you safe in a home you could not leave are now keeping you stuck in a life you are trying to build. The wiring that developed in response to your early environment is still running the show, even though the environment has changed. Your nervous system is still protecting you from threats that no longer exist. This is not just psychology. This is neuroscience. This is biology. And understanding it changes everything. Inside your brain, there is a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your alarm system. Its job is to scan for danger and activate your body's threat response before you even have time to think. When it detects something it perceives as a threat, whether that is a physical danger or an emotional trigger, it floods your system with stress hormones. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing quickens, your muscles tense, your thinking brain goes offline. This is the hijack, the moment when emotion takes over and rational thought disappears. The amygdala does not distinguish between real threats and perceived threats. It does not care if you are facing a lion or facing criticism. It does not know the difference between physical danger and social rejection. It just knows something feels threatening, and it reacts. Fast. Automatic. Beyond your conscious control. This would be fine if you had a strong prefrontal cortex to regulate it. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for reasoning, planning, and emotional regulation. It is the part that can pause, assess, and choose a measured response. It is the part that can say, "Wait, this is not actually dangerous. We do not need to panic." But here is the problem. The prefrontal cortex develops slowly. It does not fully mature until your mid-20s, and it is highly sensitive to stress. So when you were young and learning how to handle emotions, your amygdala was fully online and hypersensitive, but your prefrontal cortex was still developing. You did not have the neural equipment to regulate intense feelings. You needed the adults around you to help you make sense of what you were feeling, to teach you how to calm your nervous system, to model healthy emotional processing. But if those adults did not know how to do that for themselves, they could not teach it to you. So your brain did what it had to do. It adapted. If expressing emotion led to punishment or rejection, your nervous system learned to go into shutdown mode. This is the dorsal vagal response. Your body literally shuts down to protect you. You feel numb, disconnected, frozen. This is not a choice. This is your autonomic nervous system doing what it was trained to do. If suppressing emotion was not an option, if the intensity kept building with nowhere to go, your nervous system learned to explode. This is the sympathetic response. Fight or flight. Anger that comes out as aggression. Anxiety that comes out as panic. You are flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, and your body is in full survival mode. Again, this is not a choice. This is biology. And if neither shutdown nor explosion felt safe, your nervous system learned to stay in a constant state of vigilance. Hyperarousal, always scanning for the next threat, never fully relaxed, always braced for impact. This is exhausting. Your body is running a marathon every day, even when you are sitting still, and you wonder why you are so tired. These patterns became automatic, neural pathways strengthened by repetition. Every time you shut down in response to overwhelm, that pathway got stronger. Every time you exploded under stress, that response became more automatic. Every time you stayed hypervigilant to avoid being caught off guard, your nervous system learned that this is what safety looks like. And now, years later, those patterns are still running. Not because you are broken, but because your brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. The culture you grew up in reinforced these patterns. If you are a man, you were probably taught that anger is acceptable but sadness is not, that vulnerability is weakness, that real men do not cry. So you learn to channel everything into anger or to feel nothing at all. If you are a woman, you were probably taught that anger is unacceptable, but sadness is expected. That being emotional is natural, but being assertive is threatening. So you learned to collapse into tears instead of standing in your power. We live in a world that values productivity over presence, achievement over feeling, thinking over sensing. We are taught to push through, to get over it, to move on. We are taught that emotions are obstacles to overcome, not information to integrate. We are taught to medicate discomfort, to distract from pain, to numb anything that disrupts our efficiency, and we wonder why we feel so disconnected from ourselves. Your nervous system developed in this context. It learned what was safe, and what was dangerous based on the feedback it received, and it built patterns designed to maximize safety and minimize threat. Those patterns are not flaws. They are features. They are evidence of your resilience, your adaptability, your will to survive. But they were built for a world you no longer live in, and they are keeping you from the life you are trying to create. Here is the breakthrough. Your brain is not fixed. The patterns are not permanent. Neuroscience has proven beyond doubt that the brain is plastic, malleable, capable of change throughout your entire life. The technical term is neuroplasticity, and it means that the same brain that learned to shut down can learn to stay present. The same nervous system that learned to explode can learn to pause. The same wiring that learned hypervigilance can learn safety. Every time you practice a new response, you are building a new neural pathway. Every time you choose differently, you are weakening the old pattern and strengthening the new one. It does not happen overnight. The old pathways are well worn. They have momentum. But with repetition, with consistency, with practice, the new pathways become stronger. And eventually, they become automatic. What once required tremendous effort becomes natural. What once felt impossible becomes effortless. This is not wishful thinking. This is not pop psychology. This is documented, researched, replicated science. Studies using brain imaging have shown that mindfulness practice increases gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, that meditation reduces amygdala activation, that somatic work releases trauma stored in the nervous system, that cognitive behavioral therapy rewires thought patterns, that exposure to safe relationships retrains attachment responses. The brain you have right now is not the brain you are stuck with. It is the brain you have been training, and you can train it differently. The blame stops here. You are not weak for struggling. You are not broken for reacting. You are not too much or too sensitive or fundamentally flawed. You are a person with a nervous system that learned to survive in the environment you were given. And that system is still trying to protect you, even when the threats it is protecting you from no longer exist. But now you know. Now you understand. The patterns make sense. The reactions have a history, and history can be rewritten, not by denying what happened, but by integrating it, not by blaming your past, but by understanding it, not by wishing you were different, but by learning how to become who you already are beneath the conditioning. This is where the real work begins, with compassion, with curiosity, with the knowledge that you aren't starting from scratch. You are starting from a foundation of survival strategies that kept you alive, and now you are going to build something new on top of them, something sustainable, something free. Now that you understand where the patterns came from, you need to understand where you are going, because transformation is not random. It is not a leap from struggle to mastery in a single moment. It is a journey through predictable stages, and knowing these stages changes everything. It gives you a map. It shows you exactly where you are and exactly what comes next. It replaces confusion with clarity, overwhelm with direction. And most importantly, it proves that what feels impossible right now is simply the next stage waiting to be reached. There are 5 stages of emotional evolution, 5 levels between where you are and where you want to be. And every person who has ever mastered their emotions has moved through these same stages, not skipping steps, not rushing the process, but moving deliberately, one stage at a time, building the foundation that makes the next level possible. The first stage is unconscious reactivity. This is where most people live most of their lives. In this stage, emotions control you, and you do not even realize it is happening until after the damage is done. You snap at someone, and only afterwards do you think, "Why did I say that?" You spiral into anxiety, and only later do you recognize that you were triggered. You shut down in a conversation, and only after it is over do you realize you disappeared. The reaction happens faster than your awareness. You are living on autopilot, running old programs, repeating old patterns, and the only time you see them is in the rear-view mirror. In this stage, you're not choosing your responses. Your nervous system is choosing for you based on what it learned years ago. Someone criticizes you, and before you can think, you are defensive. Someone disappoints you, and before you can pause, you are angry. Something feels uncertain, and before you can assess, you are anxious. The emotion rises, the reaction follows, and by the time your conscious mind catches up, it is over. You are left with the consequences, the hurt on someone's face, the opportunity lost, the relationship damaged, and you wonder why you keep doing this, why you cannot seem to stop yourself, why knowing better does not help you do better. This stage feels like being a passenger in your own life, watching yourself do things you do not want to do, saying things you do not mean, reacting in ways that do not match your values. And the frustration builds because you are trying, you want to change, but the pattern is faster than your intention, and so it keeps happening, again and again. But then something shifts. You move into the second stage, conscious awareness, and this changes everything. In this stage, you begin to notice patterns. You start to recognize triggers. You see the storm coming, even if you cannot stop it yet. You are still reacting, but now you are aware that you are reacting. You snap at someone, and in the moment, some part of you registers, "I am doing it again." You spiral into anxiety, and even as it is happening, you think, "Here comes the spiral." You shut down, and as you disappear, you notice, "I am shutting down right now." This might not sound like progress, because you are still reacting. You are still being swept away. But awareness is everything. It is the crack in the pattern, the moment when the autopilot is interrupted, even briefly, by the presence of consciousness. And once you see the pattern, you can never fully unsee it. It loses some of its power. It becomes something you are watching instead of something you are lost in. In this stage, you start to connect the dots. You notice that you always get defensive when someone questions your competence, that you always spiral when you feel out of control, that you always shut down when conflict gets intense. You see the cause and effect, the trigger and the response, and you start to predict yourself. You know what situations are going to set you off. You know what emotions are going to show up. You are building a relationship with your patterns instead of being blindsided by them. This stage feels different. Not easy, but different. You are no longer completely at the mercy of your reactions. You are observing them, learning them, understanding them. And that understanding is the foundation for everything that comes next, because you cannot change what you cannot see. And now you are starting to see. The third stage is pause and choice. This is where the real shift begins. In this stage, you create space between stimulus and response. You learn to interrupt automatic reactions and choose differently. The emotion still rises. The trigger still activates. But now, instead of reacting immediately, you pause. Just a breath. Just a moment. Just enough space for your conscious mind to engage before your autopilot takes over. Someone criticizes you, and instead of immediately defending yourself, you pause. You feel the defensiveness rising. You notice the impulse to react, but you do not act on it. Not yet. You take a breath, you create space, and in that space, you get to choose. Do I actually want to defend myself right now? Is that what this moment needs? Or is there a different response that would serve me better? This is not suppression. You are not pushing the feeling down or pretending it is not there. You are acknowledging it fully, feeling it completely, and then choosing how to respond to it instead of being controlled by it. The anger is there, but you do not have to yell. The anxiety is there, but you do not have to spiral. The sadness is there, but you do not have to collapse. You can hold the emotion and still choose your action. In this stage, you start to experience something you may have never felt before: agency. The sense that you have a say in how this goes, that you are not just a leaf blown by the wind of your emotions, that you can feel everything and still steer. The ship. It is subtle at first. The pause is short. The choice is hard. But it is there. And every time you practice it, it gets easier. The pause lengthens. The choice becomes clearer. And you start to trust yourself in a new way. This stage feels like waking up, like suddenly you are here, present, engaged, instead of just reacting from muscle memory. You are no longer wondering why you did that thing, because you are choosing, deliberately, consciously. And even when you choose wrong, even when you mess up, it is different now, because it was a choice, not a compulsion, not an autopilot reaction, a choice, and that means next time you can choose differently. The fourth stage is emotional fluency. This is where you stop seeing emotions as problems and start seeing them as information. In this stage, you understand what each emotion is telling you. You use feelings as data, and you respond with precision instead of panic. Anger is not something to fear or suppress. It is a signal that a boundary has been crossed. Anxiety is not something to eliminate. It is a signal that something needs attention. Sadness is not something to rush through. It is a signal that something matters. You become a translator of your own experience. You feel anger, and instead of reacting to it, you ask, what boundary is being violated here? What do I need to protect? You feel anxiety, and instead of spiraling, you ask, what am I preparing for? What do I need to address? You feel sadness, and instead of numbing, you ask, what loss am I processing? What do I need to grieve? In this stage, emotions are no longer the enemy. They are your internal guidance system. They tell you what you care about, what you need, what is happening beneath the surface. And because you understand them, you can work with them. You can honor the signal without being overwhelmed by the intensity. You can respond to what the emotion is pointing to instead of just reacting to the emotion itself. This stage feels like fluency in a language you have been hearing your whole life, but never understood. Suddenly the noise makes sense, the chaos has structure, the intensity has meaning. You are no longer confused by your own feelings. You are informed by them, and that makes everything simpler. Not easier, but simpler, because you know what you are dealing with. You know what it means, and you know what to do with it. The fifth stage is integrated mastery. This is the destination, the place where emotions flow through you naturally, informing but not controlling. You trust yourself completely, not because you never feel intensity, but because you know, without question, that you can handle whatever arises. There is no emotion you fear, no feeling you avoid, no intensity that threatens your stability. You are fully present to your experience without being consumed by it. In this stage, anger arises and you feel it fully. You let it move through your body. You honor what it is protecting. And then you respond from clarity instead of rage. Anxiety arises and you welcome it. You listen to what it is preparing you for. And then you act from wisdom instead of fear. Sadness arises and you sit with it. You let it soften you. And then you move forward with compassion instead of despair. You are not controlling your emotions. You are dancing with them. They lead sometimes. You lead sometimes. But you are always in relationship, always in communication, always aware of what is happening. And because of that, you are free. Free to feel everything without being ruled by anything. Free to be fully human without being afraid of your own humanity. This stage feels like home, like you have finally arrived in your own body, like you can trust yourself to navigate whatever life brings. There is a quiet confidence that was not there before, not arrogance, not invincibility, but a deep, unshakable knowing that you are capable, that you are equipped, that you are enough. This is the journey. 5 stages, each one building on the last, each one moving you closer to mastery. And here is what matters most. You do not have to do all 5 stages at once. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to move from where you are to the next stage. That is all. 1 step, 1 level, 1 practice at a time. If you are in stage 1, your work is to build awareness, to start noticing, to catch yourself in the act instead of only seeing it afterwards. If you are in stage 2, your work is to practice the pause, to create space, to interrupt the autopilot even for a second. If you are in stage 3, your work is to learn the language, to understand what your emotions are telling you, to translate the signal. The path is clear, the stages are defined, and the transformation is not a mystery. It is a process, predictable, repeatable, inevitable for anyone willing to walk it. You are not hoping to get better. You are moving through stages that will make you better. And every practice, every moment of awareness, every pause, every choice is moving you forward, closer to mastery, closer to freedom, closer to the person you have always wanted to be. Knowing the stages gives you the map, but you need a tool to actually move through them. You need something concrete, something you can use in the moment when your heart is racing and your thoughts are spinning and your body is screaming at you to react. You need a technique that is simple enough to remember when you are overwhelmed and powerful enough to actually shift what is happening inside you. This is that technique. 4 steps, 4 words. 1 practice that will change everything if you let it. It is called RAIN. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture, and it is your first line of defense against emotional reactivity, your bridge from autopilot to awareness, your path from chaos to clarity. Let me walk you through it, not in theory, in practice. In the moments that matter, the first step is recognize. This means naming the emotion as it arises, labeling it precisely, not vaguely, not generally, but specifically. You do not say, I feel bad. You say, I feel angry, or I feel afraid, or I feel ashamed. You get specific because specificity matters. The act of naming an emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, and that activation literally reduces the intensity of the amygdala, the alarm system. Neuroscientists call this affect labeling. You can call it magic, because the moment you name what you are feeling, it loses some of its grip on you. You are sitting in traffic, completely stopped. You have somewhere to be, and you are going to be late. You feel your chest tightening, your jaw clenching, your hands gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. The frustration is building. The old pattern would be to just react, to curse, to honk, to spiral into anger and make everything worse. But instead, you pause, just for a second, and you recognize, you say to yourself, or out loud if you are alone, this is frustration. I am feeling frustrated right now. That is what this is. And something shifts, not dramatically, not completely, but noticeably. The emotion is still there. The frustration has not disappeared. But now there is a tiny bit of space around it. You are not the frustration. You are the person noticing the frustration. And that distance, however small, is everything. Because now you are not just reacting, you are aware. And awareness is the beginning of choice. The second step is allow. This means stopping the fight, letting the emotion exist without judgment, without trying to push it away or talk yourself out of it or criticize yourself for feeling it. The resistance is what creates suffering. The war against what you feel is more exhausting than the feeling itself. So you stop resisting. You stop fighting. You let it be. You are still in traffic. You have recognized the frustration. Now you allow it. You say, it is okay to feel frustrated right now. This is a frustrating situation. I am allowed to feel this. You do not add, but I shouldn't feel this way. You do not add, other people would not be bothered by this. You do not add, I am being ridiculous. You just let it exist. You give yourself permission to feel what you feel without making it wrong. This is not indulgence. This is not wallowing. This is acceptance. And acceptance does something profound. It removes the second layer of suffering, the suffering that comes from judging yourself for suffering. When you allow the emotion without resistance, it can move, it can flow, it can eventually pass. But when you resist it, you trap it. You keep it locked inside. You give it power by fighting it. So you stop fighting. You open your hands. You let it be. The third step is investigate. This means getting curious, asking questions, exploring what is actually happening beneath the surface. You do not analyze. You do not try to solve anything. You just investigate with genuine interest. Where do you feel it in your body? What thought triggered it? What does this emotion want you to know? You are still in traffic. You have recognized frustration. You have allowed it. Now you investigate. You notice where the frustration lives in your body. Your shoulders are tight. Your jaw is clenched. Your breath is shallow. You notice the thought that triggered it. I am going to be late. People are going to judge me. I should have left earlier. You notice what the frustration is trying to protect. Your need to be reliable, your desire to be respected, your fear of disappointing others. This investigation changes everything, because now the emotion is not just a problem, it is information. It is a signal pointing to something that matters to you. The frustration is not random. It is not proof that you are broken. It is your system trying to tell you something. And when you listen, when you get curious instead of reactive, you can respond to what is actually needed instead of just reacting to what you feel. The fourth step is nurture. This means speaking to yourself with compassion, acknowledging the difficulty, offering comfort instead of criticism, treating yourself the way you would treat someone you love who is struggling, not with pity, not with indulgence, but with kindness, with understanding, with the recognition that being human is hard and you are doing your best. You are still in traffic. You have recognized, allowed, and investigated. Now you nurture. You say, "This is hard. I am frustrated, and that makes sense. I care about being on time, and I am stuck in something I cannot control. That is legitimately difficult. I am doing the best I can." And you mean it. You are not just saying words. You are offering yourself the compassion you need in this moment. And that compassion softens something. It eases the tension. It reminds you that you are not alone in this, that struggling does not mean failing, that being frustrated in a frustrating situation is completely human. This is rain. 4 steps, 1 practice. And it works. Not because it makes the emotion disappear, but because it changes your relationship to it. You are no longer at war with what you feel. You are working with it, listening to it, honoring it. And from that place, you can choose how to respond. Let me show you how this works in different situations, because rain is not just for traffic. It is for everything. You are in a conflict with someone you care about. They say something that cuts. You feel anger rising, hot, fast. Your impulse is to strike back, to defend yourself, to hurt them the way they hurt you. But instead, you use rain. You recognize. This is anger. I feel angry right now. You allow. It is okay to feel angry. What they said hurt. You investigate. Where is this anger? It is in my chest. It is burning. What triggered it? They dismissed something that matters to me. What does it want me to know? That my feelings are valid. That I need to be heard. You nurture. This is hard. Being dismissed hurts. I deserve to be respected. And now, from that place of awareness and self-compassion, you respond. Not from the heat of reaction, but from the clarity of choice. You say what you need to say without attacking. You set a boundary without destroying the relationship. You honor your anger without letting it control you. You are about to give a presentation. Your hands are shaking. Your heart is pounding. The anxiety is overwhelming. Your impulse is to panic, to run, to convince yourself you cannot do this. But instead, you use rain. You recognize. This is anxiety. I feel anxious right now. You allow. It is okay to feel anxious. This matters to me, and I want to do well. You investigate. Where is this anxiety? It is in my stomach. It is making me nauseous. What triggered it? The fear of being judged. The fear of failing. What does it want me to know? That I care about this. That I want to succeed. You nurture. This is normal. Everyone feels nervous before something important. I am prepared. I can do hard things. And now the anxiety is still there. But it is not controlling you. It is just energy. And you can use that energy. You can channel it into focus, into presence, into showing up fully instead of shutting down. You are grieving. Someone you love is gone. The sadness is so heavy you can barely breathe. Your impulse is to numb it, to distract yourself, to push through and pretend you are fine. But instead, you use rain. You recognize. This is grief. I feel profound sadness right now. You allow. It is okay to feel this sadness. Loss is supposed to hurt. You investigate. Where is this grief? It is everywhere. It is in my chest, my throat, my bones. What triggered it? A memory, a smell, a song. What does it want me to know? That I loved deeply. That this person mattered. That the pain is proof of how much they meant. You nurture. This is one of the hardest things a human can experience. I do not have to be strong right now. I can fall apart. I can feel this fully. I am not weak for grieving. I am human. And you let yourself cry. You let the sadness move through you. You do not rush it, or minimize it, or apologize for it. You honor it. And in honoring it, you begin to heal. This is how rain works in real life. Not perfectly, not without effort, but reliably, consistently, transformatively. Every time you practice it, you are building new neural pathways. You are training your brain to respond instead of react. You are teaching your nervous system that emotions are safe, that you can handle them, that you do not need to shut down or explode or run away. You can stay. You can be present. You can feel everything and remain yourself. The more you practice, the faster it becomes. At first, you might need to consciously walk through all 4 steps, to deliberately pause and work through each one. But eventually, it becomes automatic. You recognize without trying. You allow without effort. You investigate naturally. You nurture instinctively. The practice becomes part of you, and when it does, you are free. Free from the tyranny of reactivity, free from the fear of your own emotions, free to live fully, feel deeply, and respond wisely. This is the foundation. Master rain, and everything else becomes possible. The other tools will make sense. The advanced practices will work. The transformation will happen. But it all starts here, with this simple, powerful, life-changing practice. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture, 4 steps, 1 breath, 1 moment of awareness. That is all it takes to begin. Rain gives you the foundation, but mastery requires more than 1 tool. You need a full toolkit, a range of techniques that work together, each one deepening your capacity, expanding your range, giving you more options when intensity hits. Because different moments require different tools, different emotions respond to different approaches, and the more skilled you become, the more precisely you can match the tool to the moment. These are not replacements for rain. They are reinforcements, extensions, ways to build on what you have already learned and take your practice deeper. But here is what matters most. You do not need to do all of these at once. That is not how mastery works. Mastery is built in layers, not leaps. So pick one. Practice it daily. Let it become second nature before adding another. Let it integrate into who you are before reaching for the next piece. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And every tool you truly master makes everything else easier. The first tool is somatic tracking. This means learning to read your body's signals before emotions escalate. Your body always knows before your mind does. Emotions do not start in your thoughts. They start in your nervous system, in your physiology. And if you can catch them at the physical level, before they become full-blown emotional reactions, you have infinitely more control. Start paying attention to your body throughout the day. Not constantly, not obsessively, just periodically. Check in. Where are you holding tension? Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Is your chest tight? Is your breathing shallow? These are not random, they are signals. Your body is preparing for something, bracing against something, responding to something your conscious mind has not caught up to yet. Tension in your jaw often means you are holding back something you want to say, or grinding through stress you have not acknowledged. Tightness in your chest often means anxiety is building, or grief is present. Shallow breathing almost always means your nervous system is in a mild state of activation. Not full panic, but not calm either. Somewhere in between. And if you catch it here, at this level, you can intervene before it becomes overwhelming. The practice is simple. Set reminders on your phone, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening. When the reminder goes off, stop what you are doing for 30 seconds. Scan your body from head to toe. Notice what you notice. Do not judge it. Do not try to fix it. Just become aware. and then do one thing to shift it. Take 3 deep breaths. Roll your shoulders back. Unclench your jaw. Soften your belly. Small adjustments. But they interrupt the pattern. They tell your nervous system, we are safe. We can relax. We do not need to brace. Do this consistently for 2 weeks, and you will start to notice patterns. You will realize that you clench your jaw every time you check your email, that your chest tightens every time you think about a certain person, that your breathing gets shallow every time you face a deadline. And once you see the patterns, you can intervene earlier. You can catch the stress before it becomes reactivity. You can regulate yourself at the root instead of managing the fallout. The second tool is emotional labeling. This means expanding your vocabulary beyond basic feelings to capture nuance. Most of us operate with a very limited emotional vocabulary. We say we are sad, or angry, or anxious. But those are categories, not specifics. And the more precisely you can name what you feel, the more power you have over it. Because precision brings clarity, and clarity brings choice. Sad is not just sad. It could be disappointed, grieving, lonely, nostalgic, melancholic, heartbroken, resigned. Each of these is different. Each one points to something specific. Each one requires a different response. If you are disappointed, you need to reassess expectations. If you are grieving, you need to honor a loss. If you are lonely, you need connection. If you are nostalgic, you need to integrate the past with the present. But if you only have the word sad, you cannot tell the difference. You just feel bad. And that is not enough information to know what to do. The same is true for anger. Are you frustrated, resentful, betrayed, protective, righteous, helpless? Each shade of anger has a different source and a different solution. Frustration needs problem solving. Resentment needs boundary setting. Betrayal needs processing and repair. Protective anger needs action. Righteous anger needs channeling into purpose. But if you only have the word anger, you cannot access the nuance. So expand your vocabulary. Keep a list on your phone, an emotion wheel, a feelings chart. When you feel something, do not just label it with the first word that comes to mind. Get more specific. Ask yourself, what flavor of this emotion am I experiencing? And then name it as precisely as you can. Not to overthink it, but to understand it. Because understanding is the path to mastery. The third tool is the 5-second pause. This is one of the most powerful techniques you will ever learn. It is exactly what it sounds like. When you feel triggered, when the impulse to react rises, you pause. For 5 seconds. That is it. 5 seconds between the trigger and your response. 5 seconds to interrupt the autopilot. 5 seconds to give your prefrontal cortex a chance to come online before your amygdala takes over. 5 seconds does not sound like much, but it is everything. Because most reactions happen in the first 2 seconds. The snap decision, the automatic response, the thing you do before you even think. But if you can stretch that window to 5 seconds, you create space. And in that space, you have options. You can choose differently. You can respond instead of react. The key is having a method for the pause, something concrete to do with those 5 seconds, so you are not just white-knuckling through them. The simplest method is breath. Breathe in for 2 seconds. Hold for 1. Breathe out for 2. That is 5 seconds. And in that time, your nervous system shifts. The intensity softens. The clarity increases. Another method is grounding. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice 5 things you can see. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Another method is a mantra, a single word or phrase you repeat silently. Calm. Breathe. Choose. anything that reminds you that you are in control. Practice this in low-stakes situations first, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when you receive a mildly annoying email, when something small goes wrong. Pause. 5 seconds. Breathe, ground, repeat your mantra, and then respond. It will feel awkward at first, mechanical, but keep practicing, because when the high-stakes moment comes, when the real trigger hits, you will not have time to figure it out. You need the pause to be automatic, and the only way to make it automatic is to practice it until it is. The fourth tool is reframing. This means shifting your perspective on emotional experiences, changing the story you tell about what you feel, not to deny the emotion, not to minimize it, but to see it differently, to see it as information instead of a problem, as an ally instead of an enemy. Anger is not a character flaw, it is a boundary violation signal. It tells you that something you value is being threatened or disrespected. It gives you the energy to protect what matters. Anxiety is not a weakness, it is preparation energy. It tells you that something important is coming and you need to be ready. It sharpens your focus and heightens your awareness. Sadness is not something to rush through. It is depth. It tells you that you are capable of caring deeply, of loving fully, of being moved by life. It connects you to your humanity. When you reframe emotions this way, everything changes. You stop fighting them. You stop seeing them as evidence that something is wrong with you. You start seeing them as part of your design, as tools your system uses to communicate with you. And from that place, you can work with them instead of against them. You can ask, what is this emotion trying to protect? What is it preparing me for? What is it helping me process? And then you can respond to the actual need instead of just trying to make the feeling go away. The fifth tool is expressive release. This means finding safe ways to discharge emotional intensity, because sometimes naming and allowing and investigating is not enough. Sometimes the emotion is so big, so intense, so physical, that it needs to move through you and out of you. And if you do not give it a pathway, it stays trapped, it builds, it festers, it comes out sideways in ways you didn't choose. Movement is one of the most effective forms of release. Your body stores emotion. Trauma lives in your tissues. Stress lives in your muscles. And when you move, you release it. Not gentle yoga movement, intense movement, running until your lungs burn, dancing until you sweat, hitting a punching bag, shaking, jumping, anything that lets the energy discharge. You do not need to understand why. You just need to move. And when you do, you will feel the shift, the lightness, the relief. Journaling is another pathway. Not journaling to process or analyze, journaling to purge, stream of consciousness, no editing, no structure. Just letting everything inside you spill onto the page, the rage, the fear, the confusion, the pain, all of it, without filter, without judgment, just release. And when you are done, you do not need to read it. You can burn it if you want. The point is not to keep it. The point is to get it out. Vocalization works too. Screaming into a pillow, singing at the top of your lungs, crying without holding back. Your voice is a release valve. Sound carries emotion, and when you let it out, you free yourself from carrying it. Do it somewhere safe, somewhere private, somewhere you will not scare anyone. But do it, because holding it in takes more energy than letting it go. Creative expression is another form. Painting, drawing, playing music, writing poetry, creating something with your hands. You are not trying to make art. You are trying to externalize what is internal, to give form to what is formless, to move the emotion from inside you to outside you. And in that movement, there is release, there is relief, there is freedom. These are your tools: somatic tracking, emotional labeling, the 5-second pause, reframing, expressive release, each one powerful on its own, each one multiplying the effectiveness of the others. But you do not need to master them all at once. Pick one, the one that speaks to you, the one that feels most relevant to where you are right now, and practice it every day. For 2 weeks, let it become part of your rhythm, part of your response, part of who you are. And then, when you are ready, add another, layer by layer, tool by tool, building mastery one practice at a time. The tools give you power in the moment, but moments add up to days. Days add up to weeks. And if you want lasting change, if you want emotional mastery to become your default instead of something you have to fight for every time, you need more than crisis management. You need to design your life in a way that supports regulation instead of undermining it. You need to build a foundation so strong that the storms, when they come, cannot shake you. This is about lifestyle, about the daily architecture of emotional stability, about making choices that seem small in isolation but compound into something unshakable over time. Because here is the truth. You cannot out-technique a terrible lifestyle. You cannot meditate your way through chronic sleep deprivation. You cannot breathe your way through nutritional chaos. You cannot pause your way through a life filled with people who drain you and environments that stress you. The tools work, but they work infinitely better when your foundation is solid. So let us build that foundation, piece by piece, starting with how you begin each day. Your morning sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, scrolling through news and messages and notifications, you are handing control of your nervous system to external stimuli before you are even fully conscious. You are starting the day reactive, scattered, already responding to other people's agendas before you have set your own. And that sets a pattern that is hard to break. Instead, protect the first 30 minutes of your day. Make them sacred. Make them yours. Start with breath work. Not complicated. Not fancy. Just intentional breathing that tells your nervous system you are safe. Box breathing works well. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out for 4. Hold for 4. Repeat for 5 minutes. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It shifts you out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. It calibrates you for calm before the day asks you to perform. Then move your body. Not to exhaustion, not to burn calories, but to wake up your system, to get your blood flowing, to discharge any residual tension from sleep, stretching, yoga, a walk, jumping jacks, anything that gets you out of your head and into your body. 10 minutes is enough. The point is connection, integration, reminding yourself that you are not just a brain driving a meat suit. You are an embodied being, and your body needs to be part of the equation. Then set an intention for the day, not a to-do list, an intention. How do you want to feel today? How do you want to show up? What quality do you want to bring to your interactions? Maybe it is patience. Maybe it is presence. Maybe it is courage. Name it. Say it out loud if you can. Write it down if that helps, and then carry it with you. Let it guide your choices. Let it remind you, when things get hard, who you are choosing to be. This ritual does not take long. 30 minutes. But those 30 minutes change everything. They give you a sense of agency, of control, of intentionality. You are not starting the day in reaction mode. You are starting it grounded, centered, prepared, and that foundation makes every challenge easier to handle. But none of this works if you are exhausted. Sleep is non-negotiable. A tired brain cannot regulate emotions. When you are sleep-deprived, your amygdala becomes hyperactive. It sees threats where there are none. It overreacts to minor stresses. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. The part of your brain responsible for rational thought, emotional regulation, and impulse control literally stops working properly. You are trying to navigate your day with an alarm system on overdrive and a control center that is offline. It is a losing battle. So protect your sleep like your life depends on it. Because your emotional life does. Go to bed at the same time every night. Your body loves consistency. It regulates better when it knows what to expect. Turn off screens an hour before bed. The blue light disrupts your circadian rhythm. The stimulation keeps your nervous system activated. Read instead. Journal instead. Stretch instead. Anything that signals to your body that it is time to wind down. Make your bedroom a sanctuary. Dark, cool, quiet. No television, no work. Just sleep and rest. Your brain needs to associate that space with safety and recovery, not with stress or stimulation. And if you wake up in the middle of the night and cannot fall back asleep, do not fight it. Do not lie there, stressing about how tired you will be tomorrow. Get up. Do something calming. Read. Breathe. And then try again when you feel sleepy. Fighting wakefulness creates more stress, and more stress destroys sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours, not because some study said so, but because that is what your body needs to recover, to process emotions, to consolidate memories, to reset your nervous system. Sleep is where mastery solidifies, where the new neural pathways you are building get reinforced, where your system integrates everything you practiced during the day. Do not skip it. Do not sacrifice it. Do not treat it like a luxury. It is the foundation of everything. What you put in your body matters too. Your brain runs on fuel, and if that fuel is inconsistent, inflammatory, or inadequate, your emotional regulation suffers. Blood sugar crashes make you irritable. Caffeine spikes make you anxious. Dehydration makes you foggy and reactive. You cannot separate your biochemistry from your psychology. They are the same system. Eat in a way that stabilizes your blood sugar. Protein and healthy fats with every meal. Not just carbs. Not just sugar. Balance. Because when your blood sugar spikes and crashes, your mood spikes and crashes with it. You feel great for an hour, and then you are shaky and irritable, and everything feels harder than it should. Stable blood sugar equals stable mood. It is that simple. Be strategic with caffeine. It is not the enemy. But it is a tool, and tools can be misused. If you are using caffeine to mask exhaustion, to push through when your body needs rest, you are borrowing energy from tomorrow. And tomorrow always collects. 1 or 2 cups in the morning is fine. But if you need caffeine in the afternoon to function, that is a sign your foundation is off. Fix the sleep first, then reassess the caffeine. Hydrate. Most people walk around chronically dehydrated and wonder why they feel terrible. Your brain is 73% water. When you are dehydrated, even mildly, your cognitive function drops, your mood drops, your stress response heightens. Drink water throughout the day. Not all at once, consistently. And notice how different you feel when you are properly hydrated versus when you are not. Now let us talk about people, because you can have perfect sleep and perfect nutrition and perfect morning rituals. But if you are surrounded by people who drain you, criticize you, or undermine your growth, you will struggle. Your nervous system is contagious. You pick up the emotional state of the people around you, and if those people are anxious, chaotic, or negative, you will absorb that. Not because you are weak, because you are human. So audit your relationships, not to judge them, but to be honest about what they cost you. Are there people in your life who consistently leave you feeling depleted? People who criticize more than they encourage? People who take more than they give? People who do not respect your boundaries or support your growth? You do not have to cut everyone out, but you do have to protect your energy. Limit exposure. Set boundaries. Stop making yourself available to dynamics that hurt you, and intentionally surround yourself with people who support your evolution. People who celebrate your progress. People who model the emotional maturity you are building. People who see the best in you and reflect it back. These relationships are not just nice to have. They are essential, because you become like the people you spend time with. Their habits become your habits. Their mindset becomes your mindset. Choose carefully. Your physical environment matters too. Clutter creates mental noise. Chaos creates stress. If your home is disorganized, overstimulating, or uncomfortable, your nervous system cannot fully relax. You are always subtly activated, always bracing, always managing low-level stress, and that accumulates. So create spaces that feel safe, that feel calm. Start with your bedroom. Make it clean. Make it simple. Remove anything that does not support rest. Then your workspace. Organize it. Reduce visual clutter. Make it a place where you can focus instead of a place that overwhelms you. You do not need perfection. You need intention. You need environments that support the person you are becoming instead of reinforcing the patterns you are trying to change. Manage stimulation. We live in a world that bombards us with input, notifications, screens, noise, demands, and your nervous system was not designed for this level of constant activation. So create buffer zones, times when you are offline, spaces where you are unreachable, moments when you can just be without input, without demand, without stimulation. Your system needs recovery, and recovery requires stillness. Finally, build resilience intentionally. This is called stress inoculation. The idea is simple. Small, manageable doses of stress make you stronger. They teach your nervous system that you can handle discomfort and come out okay. That stress is not dangerous. That intensity is temporary. And over time, your window of tolerance expands. You can handle more without breaking. Cold exposure is one of the most effective methods. A cold shower for 30 seconds at the end of your normal shower. It is uncomfortable. Your body will resist. Your breath will quicken. Your mind will scream at you to stop. But you stay. You breathe. You remind yourself you are safe. And when it is over, you feel different. Calmer, clearer, stronger. Because you just proved to yourself that you can handle discomfort. That you can stay present even when every instinct tells you to flee. Physical training works the same way. Not to punish yourself, but to challenge yourself. To push past the point where it feels easy and into the zone where it feels hard, and then to stay there, to breathe through it, to finish. Every time you do this, you are training your nervous system to stay regulated under pressure, to not collapse when things get difficult, to trust that you are capable. Discomfort practice can be anything. Having a hard conversation you have been avoiding, doing something that scares you socially, sitting with boredom instead of reaching for distraction. The specifics do not matter. What matters is that you are deliberately putting yourself in situations that activate your nervous system, and then proving to yourself that you can handle it, that you can regulate, that you can come back to calm. This is the foundation. Morning rituals, sleep, nutrition, relational boundaries, environment, stress inoculation. None of these are dramatic, none of them are revolutionary, but together they create a life where emotional mastery is not a constant battle, where regulation is the default, where you are not always fighting against your own system, but working with it, building on solid ground, creating stability from the inside out. This is not about perfection. You will miss mornings. You will have bad sleep. You will eat poorly sometimes. You will be around draining people. That is life. But the more consistently you practice these foundations, the more resilient you become, the more capacity you have, the more emotional range you can handle without falling apart. Small choices, repeated daily, compounding into unshakable strength. You have the tools, you have the foundation. But maybe part of you still doubts. Maybe you are wondering if this will actually work for you, if change is really possible, if you are too far gone, too broken, too stuck in your patterns to ever be different. So let me give you something that doubt cannot touch. Evidence, science, the biological reality of what happens inside your brain and body when you do this work. Because this is not philosophy. This is not positive thinking. This is neuroscience. And the science is unequivocal. You can change. Your brain is designed for it. The concept is called neuroplasticity, and it has revolutionized everything we understand about the human brain. For most of history, scientists believed the brain was fixed, that after childhood, your neural structure was set, that you were stuck with whatever wiring you developed early in life. But research over the last few decades has completely demolished that idea. Your brain is not fixed. It is plastic, malleable, constantly reshaping itself based on what you do, what you practice, what you repeat. Every time you practice a new behavior, you are creating new neural pathways. Every time you choose differently, you are strengthening those pathways. And every time you repeat that choice, those pathways become faster, stronger, more automatic. This is not metaphor. This is physical change happening in your brain. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That is the fundamental principle of neuroplasticity. And it means that the patterns you have now are not permanent. They are just well practiced. And what has been practiced can be unpracticed. What has been wired can be rewired. Studies using brain imaging technology have proven this beyond doubt. Researchers took people who had never meditated before and taught them mindfulness practice. 8 weeks, just 8 weeks of daily practice. And then they scanned their brains. What they found was remarkable. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for emotional regulation, decision-making, and impulse control, had literally grown thicker. More gray matter, more neural density. The participants had not just learned a skill, they had physically changed the structure of their brains. And it was not just growth in the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala, the alarm system, the part of the brain that triggers your fight or flight response, had shrunk. Less gray matter, less reactivity. The people in the study reported feeling calmer, less anxious, more in control. And the brain scans showed why. Their brains had restructured themselves to support regulation instead of reactivity. 8 weeks. That is all it took to create measurable, visible change. This is what happens when you practice RAIN. When you recognize an emotion, you are activating your prefrontal cortex. You are engaging the thinking part of your brain, and that engagement literally reduces activation in the amygdala. Neuroscientists call this affect labeling. When you name what you feel, when you put language to the emotion, you are shifting activity from the reactive part of your brain to the regulatory part. And that shift calms the alarm. It reduces the intensity. It gives you back control. This is not just theory. This has been measured. Researchers have put people in brain scanners and shown them disturbing images. When people just looked at the images without naming what they felt, their amygdalas lit up. High activation, strong emotional reaction. But when people were asked to label the emotion, to say, "This makes me feel afraid," or "This makes me feel disgusted," the amygdala activation dropped significantly. The simple act of naming reduced the threat response. The emotion was still there, but it was no longer overwhelming, and all they did was name it. This is why the first step of RAIN works. This is why recognition matters. You are not just being mindful. You are literally rewiring your brain's response to emotion. You are training your prefrontal cortex to come online faster. And you are training your amygdala to calm down quicker. Every single time you do it. Now let me introduce you to another piece of the puzzle, polyvagal theory. This is a framework developed by neuroscientist Stephen Porges that explains how your nervous system responds to safety and threat. And understanding it will change how you see everything you have been learning. Your nervous system has 3 states. The first is the ventral vagal state. This is your social engagement system. This is where you feel safe, connected, calm. Your heart rate is steady. Your breathing is deep. Your muscles are relaxed. You can think clearly. You can connect with others. You can regulate your emotions. This is the state you want to spend most of your time in. This is where mastery lives. The second state is the sympathetic state. This is fight or flight. This is where you go when your system perceives threat. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing quickens. Your muscles tense. Adrenaline floods your system. You are ready to fight or run. This state is useful when you are in real danger. But most of the time, you are not in real danger. You are just triggered, and your body does not know the difference. So it activates this state anyway, and you feel anxious, angry, panicked, out of control. The third state is the dorsal vagal state. This is shut down. This is where you go when fight or flight does not work, when the threat is too big or too prolonged. Your body gives up. It freezes. It disconnects. You feel numb, foggy, depressed, dissociated. This is not a conscious choice. This is your nervous system protecting you the only way it knows how, by shutting everything down. Most people with emotional dysregulation are stuck oscillating between sympathetic and dorsal vagal, between fight or flight and shutdown, between explosion and collapse. They never spend enough time in ventral vagal, the state of safety and connection, to build real stability, and they wonder why nothing works, why they cannot just calm down, why they cannot just feel better. But here is the key. You can train your nervous system to spend more time in ventral vagal. You can teach it what safety feels like, and the way you do that is through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the main highway of your parasympathetic nervous system. It runs from your brainstem down through your body, connecting to your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. And when you activate it, you shift out of fight or flight and into safety. You move from sympathetic to ventral vagal, from threat to calm. Breathwork activates the vagus nerve, specifically slow, deep breathing, with a longer exhale than inhale. When you breathe in, your heart rate increases slightly. When you breathe out, your heart rate decreases. And when you extend that exhale, when you make it longer than the inhale, you are sending a signal to your nervous system. You are safe. You can relax. The vagus nerve gets activated. The parasympathetic system turns on, and your body shifts into calm. This is why the 5-second pause works. This is why box breathing works. This is why every tradition from yoga to meditation to martial arts emphasizes breath control. Because breath is the most direct, accessible way to regulate your nervous system. You cannot always control your thoughts. You cannot always control your emotions, but you can always control your breath. And when you control your breath, you control your state. Movement activates the vagus nerve too, especially rhythmic movement. Walking, running, dancing, swimming, anything that gets your body moving in a steady, repetitive pattern. This is why exercise helps with anxiety and depression, not just because of endorphins, but because movement completes the stress cycle. It discharges the activation. It tells your body that you fought or you fled, and now the threat is over. And your nervous system can return to baseline. Connection activates the vagus nerve. Safe, warm, attuned connection with another person. Eye contact, touch, laughter, co-regulation. When you are with someone who is calm, their nervous system can help regulate yours. This is not weakness. This is biology. We are social animals. We are wired to regulate each other. And when you feel safe with someone, when you feel seen and accepted, your vagus nerve activates. Your system shifts into ventral vagal. You calm down from the inside out. This is why relational boundaries matter. This is why surrounding yourself with safe people matters, because your nervous system is constantly reading the people around you, constantly assessing threat and safety. And if the people you are with are dysregulated, if they are anxious or angry or chaotic, your system picks that up, and it matches it. You become dysregulated too. But if the people you are with are regulated, if they are calm and grounded, your system picks that up instead, and you calm down without even trying. Cognitive behavioral therapy has decades of research showing that you can retrain thought patterns, that the stories you tell about your emotions, about yourself, about your life, directly impact how you feel. That when you challenge distorted thoughts, when you reframe catastrophic thinking, when you replace self-criticism with self-compassion, your emotional state changes. Not because you are lying to yourself, but because you are correcting the lies you have been telling yourself. The lies that were installed by trauma, by conditioning, by a world that didn't understand you. Somatic practices have shown that trauma is stored in the body, that memories live in your muscles and your fascia and your nervous system, and that you can release them through movement, through touch, through practices that reconnect you with your physical self. This is not woo. This is neuroscience. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the leading trauma researchers in the world, literally wrote the book on this. It is called The Body Keeps the Score, and it documents, with rigorous research, how somatic work can heal what talk therapy cannot touch. When you do the practices in this audiobook, you are not just trying techniques. You are engaging with the biology of change. You are working with your brain's natural capacity to rewire. You are working with your nervous system's innate drive toward regulation. You are working with mechanisms that have been proven, tested, replicated across thousands of studies with millions of participants. This is not faith. This is science. And the science says you can change. Every time you practice rain, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex and calming your amygdala. Every time you do breathwork, you are activating your vagus nerve and shifting into parasympathetic mode. Every time you move your body, you are completing the stress cycle and discharging activation. Every time you practice somatic tracking, you are reconnecting with the wisdom of your body. Every time you reframe an emotion, you are rewiring the neural pathways that interpret your experience. Every time you set a boundary, you are teaching your nervous system what safety feels like. This is not about believing hard enough. This is about practicing consistently enough. Because the brain does not care about your beliefs. It cares about your behavior. It changes based on what you do. Not what you think. Not what you hope. What you actually practice. And if you practice these tools, if you build these foundations, your brain will change. Your nervous system will change. Your emotional life will change. Not because of magic, because of biology. So trust the process, not because I am telling you to, but because the evidence demands it. Thousands of studies, decades of research, measurable, replicable results. This works. Not for some people, for everyone who practices it. Because it is not about personality or willpower or luck. It is about working with the design of your own system. And your system is designed to heal, to adapt, to grow. All you have to do is give it the right conditions, the right practice, the right consistency, and it will do what it was built to do. It will change. The science proves it works. The tools are clear. The foundation is built. But none of that matters until you test it in the fire. Until life throws something at you that makes your chest tighten and your mind race, and every old pattern scream at you to react. Because mastery is not what you do when things are calm. Mastery is what you do when everything is falling apart. When the stakes are high, when the pressure is on, when your nervous system is begging you to run or fight or shut down. That is where you find out who you have become. So let us walk through it. Let us take everything you have learned and put it into the moments that matter most, the moments that will define whether this transformation is real or just theory. Because you are not building this capacity for easy days. You are building it for the hard ones, for the conflicts, the crises, the failures, the high-stakes moments, the grief. This is where mastery lives, in the fire. You are in conflict with someone who matters to you. They say something that cuts deep, something that feels like an attack. Your chest tightens immediately. Your jaw clenches. You feel the heat rising. The old pattern is screaming at you. Defend yourself. Strike back. Make them hurt the way they hurt you. Your heart is pounding. Your thoughts are spinning. And you have maybe 2 seconds before you say something you cannot take back. This is the moment. This is where rain saves you. You recognize. This is anger. I feel angry right now. Just naming it creates a tiny bit of space. Enough space to not explode immediately. You allow. It is okay to feel angry. What they said hurt. I am allowed to feel this. The resistance softens. The fight against the feeling stops. You investigate. Where is this anger? It is in my chest. It is burning. What triggered it? They dismissed something I care about. They made me feel small. What does it want me to know? That I matter? That my feelings are valid? You nurture. This is hard. Being attacked hurts. I deserve respect. I can handle this without destroying this relationship. And now you have options. You are not reacting from the heat of the moment. You are responding from clarity. You can say what you just said hurt me. I need you to understand that. You can say, I am feeling defensive right now, and I need a minute before we continue this conversation. You can say, I want to hear you, but I also need to be heard. Whatever you choose, it comes from awareness instead of autopilot, from choice instead of compulsion, and that changes everything. The conflict does not disappear, but you stay intact through it. You do not lose yourself. You do not damage the relationship beyond repair. You navigate the storm without capsizing. You get news that turns your world upside down. A loss, a betrayal, a catastrophic failure. Everything you thought was solid is suddenly gone. Your mind goes into overdrive. Panic rises. Your thoughts spiral into worst-case scenarios. Your body floods with adrenaline. You cannot think straight. You cannot breathe properly. And you need to make decisions. You need to function. But you are drowning in overwhelm. This is crisis, and crisis demands grounding. You cannot think your way out of panic. You have to bring your nervous system back online first. So you use what you know. You feel your feet on the floor. You press them down, solid, connected to the earth. You notice 5 things you can see: the chair, the wall, the light, the door, the table. You are anchoring yourself in the present moment, in what is real right now. Not what might happen, not what you fear, what is actually here. You take 3 deep breaths, in through your nose for 4 counts, out through your mouth for 6 counts, activating your vagus nerve, telling your nervous system that you are safe enough to calm down. The panic does not vanish, but it softens, enough for your prefrontal cortex to come back online, enough for you to think. And now you can ask yourself, what do I actually need to do right now? Not everything, not all at once, just the next right thing, the first step. And you take it. One action, one decision, one foot in front of the other, and then the next, and the next. You are not operating from clarity yet, but you are operating from enough clarity, enough to move forward, enough to survive this moment. And that is all you need. You do not have to see the whole path. You just have to see the next step. You tried something important and it did not work. You failed, publicly, undeniably. The disappointment is crushing. The shame is suffocating. Your mind immediately starts the attack. You are not good enough. You never were. Everyone saw you fail. You humiliated yourself. You should have known better. The voice is relentless, and the temptation is to believe it, to let the failure define you, to spiral into the story that you are fundamentally flawed. But you know better now. You know what is happening. This is shame, and shame is a liar. So you use rain. You recognize, this is shame. I feel ashamed right now. You allow. It is okay to feel ashamed. I tried something hard, and it didn't work. That is allowed to hurt. You investigate. Where is this shame? It is in my face. It is making me want to hide. What triggered it? The fear of judgment. The fear that people will think less of me. What does it want me to know? That I care about how I am perceived. That this mattered to me. You nurture. This is one of the hardest human experiences. Failing at something you cared about. I am not a failure. I am someone who failed at one thing. And that is different. And now you can extract the lesson without drowning in the emotion. What can I learn from this? What would I do differently? What is actually true about this failure, and what is just the shame talking? You separate the facts from the feelings, and you move forward. not pretending the failure did not happen, not minimizing it, but not letting it define you either. You failed at something. You are not a failure. That distinction saves you. You are about to do something important. Give a presentation, have a difficult conversation, perform in front of people who matter. The stakes are high, and your body knows it. Your heart is racing, your hands are shaking, your stomach is in knots, the anxiety is overwhelming, and part of you wants to run, to cancel, to avoid the whole situation. But you cannot. This matters too much. So you reframe. This is not panic. This is preparation energy. Your body is not betraying you. It is getting you ready. The increased heart rate is sending more blood to your brain and muscles. The adrenaline is sharpening your focus. The tension is making you alert. This is your system doing exactly what it is designed to do. Getting you ready to perform. And you can work with it instead of fighting it. You do the 5-second pause. You breathe. You ground yourself. You feel your feet. You notice what is around you. You remind yourself that you are prepared, that you know your material, that you have done hard things before and survived, that this anxiety does not mean something is wrong. It means something matters, and mattering is good. You channel the energy. You let it sharpen you instead of scatter you. You step into the moment, not calm, but focused, not relaxed, but ready. And you perform. Not perfectly, but well enough, because you stayed present, because you used the intensity instead of being used by it. Someone you love is gone. The grief is so enormous you do not know how to hold it. It feels like it will consume you, like you will drown in it. And part of you wants to numb it, to distract yourself, to pretend it is not as bad as it is, to keep busy so you do not have to feel it. But you know that does not work. The grief does not go away. It just gets stored, it waits, and it will come out eventually, one way or another. So you make a different choice. You feel it, fully. You let the sadness rise. You let the tears come. You let your body shake with the weight of it. You do not try to be strong. You do not try to hold it together. You just let yourself break. Because grief is not something to overcome. It is something to honor. It is the price of love. And the depth of your pain is proof of the depth of your love. So you sit with it. You breathe through it. You let it move through you without resisting it. And here is what you discover. The grief does not destroy you. It changes you, it softens you, it opens you. It connects you to your own humanity in a way nothing else can. And even in the pain, there is something sacred, something real, something that makes you more whole, not less. You do not get over it. You integrate it. You carry it with you. And you learn that you can hold unbearable pain and still function. Still love. Still live. That is not weakness. That is the definition of strength. This is mastery under pressure. Not the absence of difficulty, but grace in the presence of it. The ability to stay present when everything in you wants to run. To stay regulated when your nervous system is screaming. To stay compassionate with yourself when you stumble. To stay grounded when the ground is shaking. This is what you have been building toward. This is what all the practice has been for, and every time you meet a hard moment and come through it intact, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can handle it, that you are not fragile, that you are not broken, that you are capable of navigating anything life throws at you. Not because you are superhuman, but because you are trained, because you have tools, because you have built a foundation that cannot be shaken. The fire does not destroy you anymore. It forges you. It refines you. It makes you stronger. And every storm you weather increases your capacity for the next one. You are not hoping to be ready when hard things come. You are becoming the kind of person who is always ready, because you know how to meet yourself in any moment, in any emotion, in any circumstance, and that knowing is unshakable, that knowing is freedom, that knowing is mastery. You have walked through the fire, and you are still here, not unchanged, changed, fundamentally, irreversibly. The person who started this journey 30 days ago would barely recognize who you are now, not because you have become someone else, but because you have become more yourself, more whole, more integrated, more free. Look at what has shifted. You no longer fight your emotions. That war is over. You do not wake up dreading what you might feel today or how you might react. You do not brace yourself against your own intensity. You do not live in fear of the next surge of anger or wave of anxiety or flood of sadness. Because you understand them now. You know what they are. You know what they mean. You know what to do with them. They are not threats anymore. They are signals, information, part of your internal guidance system, and you have learned to read them fluently. When anger rises now, you do not explode. You recognize. You pause. You investigate what boundary is being crossed, what value is being threatened, what needs to be protected, and you respond from that clarity instead of reacting from the heat. The anger is still there. You still feel it fully, but it no longer controls you. It informs you, and from that information, you can act with precision instead of destruction. When anxiety shows up now, you do not spiral. You do not catastrophize. You do not let your thoughts run wild into worst-case scenarios that paralyze you. You notice the anxiety. You allow it. You get curious about what it is preparing you for, what it wants you to pay attention to, what legitimate concern is beneath the noise. And you address that concern from groundedness instead of panic. The anxiety is still there. You still feel the activation in your body, but it no longer hijacks you. It alerts you. And from that alert state, you can respond effectively instead of reactively. When sadness comes now, you do not numb it or push it away or distract yourself until it passes. You sit with it. You let it soften you. You honor what it is telling you about loss, about meaning, about what matters. You give yourself permission to feel deeply without judgment, without shame, without the belief that something is wrong with you for being affected by life. The sadness is still there. You still feel the heaviness, but it no longer drowns you. It deepens you. And from that depth, you connect with your own humanity in ways that make you more compassionate, more present, more alive. You trust yourself now in a way you never have before, not because you never feel intensity, but because you know you can handle whatever intensity arises. There is no emotion you fear, no feeling you avoid, no state you cannot navigate. You have proven it to yourself, again and again. In conflicts that could have destroyed relationships, you stayed present. In crises that could have shattered you, you stayed grounded. In failures that could have defined you, you stayed compassionate. In high-stakes moments that could have paralyzed you, you stayed focused. In grief that could have consumed you, you stayed whole. This is not theory anymore. This is lived experience. You are not hoping you can handle hard things. You know you can. Because you have, repeatedly. And that knowing changes everything. It gives you a quiet confidence that was not there before. Not arrogance, not invincibility, but a deep, unshakable sense that you are equipped, that you are capable, that you are enough, no matter what comes. You are someone who feels deeply but is not ruled by feeling. You experience the full range of human emotion without being swept away by it. You can hold joy and sorrow simultaneously. You can feel fear and move forward anyway. You can be angry and still kind. You can be anxious and still decisive. The emotions do not dictate your actions anymore. They inform them. And that makes you powerful in a way that suppression never could. You are someone who can sit with discomfort without running. You do not need to escape every hard feeling. You do not need to numb or distract or avoid. You can be with what is, even when what is feels unbearable, even when every instinct screams at you to make it stop. You have learned that discomfort is not dangerous, that you can survive it, that on the other side of it is often clarity, growth, transformation. So you do not run anymore. You stay, and in staying, you discover reserves of strength you didn't know you had. You are someone who processes intensity without losing themselves. You can be in the storm without becoming the storm. You can hold space for big emotions without being consumed by them. You can witness your own reactivity without identifying with it. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are not your sadness. You are the awareness that holds all of it. The presence that remains steady, even when everything inside you is churning. And that awareness, that presence, that is who you really are. Everything else is just weather. Passing through, you are someone who brings calm into chaos, not because you are unaffected, but because you are regulated. When everyone around you is panicking, you ground. When the situation is spiraling, you pause. When emotions are running high, you breathe. And your calm is contagious. It gives others permission to regulate too. It creates space for clarity instead of reaction. It shifts the energy in the room. You have become a stabilizing force, not by suppressing yourself, but by mastering yourself. And look at what this opens up. Your relationships are different now. Deeper, more authentic, more resilient. Because you show up fully. You do not hide your emotions or perform a version of yourself that seems acceptable. You bring your whole self, your joy, your struggles, your vulnerability, your strength, and people feel that. They trust it. They reciprocate it. The connections you have now are real, not surface level, not performative, real, because you are no longer afraid to be seen. You know that your emotions do not make you too much. They make you human. And your humanity is what allows true intimacy to exist. Opportunities are expanding too, because you no longer self-sabotage. You no longer avoid things that scare you. You no longer say no to challenges, because you do not trust yourself to handle the emotions that might come with them. You step into the unknown now. You take risks. You pursue what matters. Because you know that even if it does not work out, even if you fail, even if it hurts, you can handle it. You can process the disappointment. You can learn from the failure. You can grieve the loss, and you can move forward. Fear does not stop you anymore. It just informs you. And from that information, you choose courage. Your work is better. Your creativity is freer. Your thinking is clearer. Because you are not spending all your energy managing your internal state. You are not constantly fighting yourself, suppressing feelings, bracing against intensity. That energy is freed up now, available for what you actually want to create, contribute, build. You are more productive, not because you work harder, but because you work from a regulated nervous system. From clarity instead of chaos, from focus instead of fragmentation, your health is improving, because stress is not living in your body the way it used to. You are not holding tension in your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach, day after day, month after month. You are processing emotions as they arise, instead of storing them in your tissues. You are sleeping better because your nervous system knows how to shift into rest. You are making better choices about food, movement, recovery, because you are connected to your body instead of disconnected from it. The mind-body connection is not abstract anymore. It is lived. It is real, and you feel the difference. There is a quiet confidence now that was not there before. Not loud, not showy, just a steady knowing. You walk into rooms differently. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. Not because you are performing confidence, but because you are confident in your ability to handle yourself, in your capacity to navigate complexity, in your right to take up space. You do not question your worth the way you used to. You do not apologize for existing. You know who you are, and you trust that who you are is enough. This is not the end of the journey. Emotional mastery is not a destination you arrive at and then stop practicing. It is a way of living, a way of being, something you continue to deepen for the rest of your life. There will still be hard days. There will still be moments when you react instead of respond, when you lose your center, when the old patterns resurface. But now you know how to come back. You know how to recognize what is happening. You know how to realign. You know how to return to yourself. And the time it takes to come back gets shorter. The reactivity gets less intense. The recovery gets faster. Because the neural pathways are strong now, the practices are integrated, the foundation is solid. You are not starting from scratch every time. You are building on everything you have already practiced, and the more you practice, the more automatic it becomes, until one day you realize you are not trying anymore. You are just being. This is who you are now. 30 days was never about fixing something broken. You were never broken. You were untrained. You were working with a sophisticated system without an instruction manual. You were doing the best you could with what you had. And now you have more. You have tools. You have understanding. You have practice. You have proof. You have transformed, not by becoming someone different, but by becoming more fully yourself, by integrating the parts you were fighting, by accepting the emotions you were resisting, by trusting the capacity you always had, but never knew how to access. You are not mastering your emotions. You are mastering yourself, your ability to stay present, your ability to choose, your ability to feel everything and remain grounded in who you are. This is the transformation, not the elimination of feeling, but the integration of it, not the suppression of intensity, but the skillful navigation of it, not becoming less human, but becoming more skilled at being human. Welcome to the rest of your life, a life where you trust yourself, where you feel deeply, where you respond wisely, where you show up fully, where you handle whatever arises with grace, with presence, with compassion. This is who you are now, not because you read something, or listened to something, or learned something, but because you practiced, you showed up, you did the work, and the work changed you. The person you have become is not the person you were 30 days ago. And 30 days from now, if you keep practicing, you will be different still. More integrated, more regulated, more free. This is the path, not perfection, evolution, not arrival, continuous growth, not fixing, becoming. You did this. You made this happen, and everything that comes next is built on this foundation. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Welcome home.